start again. It's a rich thing.
Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. In today's video of Mundane Mondays, we will be discussing how sleep isn't a priority of the 21st century and how that is actually a huge issue amongst both young people and older people. But before then, if you haven't already watched some of my previous videos, I'll put them up on the screen. So I had last week's video was about how 2020 has affected 2021, especially due to the ailment that's going about. And then the video before that was about talking to yourself and the pros and cons about doing so. So today's video will be broken down into 4 different parts. The first one will be the relationship between hustle culture, flex culture, and lack of sleep culture. The second one will be about how sleep affects everything you do. The third part will be do not operate heavy machinery while sleepy. And finally, the last one will be the reliance on caffeine and other stimulants in absence of sleep. Alright, so let's get on to the first part. So what is hustle culture? Hustle culture is essentially where you work yourself to the bone in, achieving things, whether that be like getting a good job, whether that be posting like once a day on Instagram, or whether or not that would be just doing anything to get, money, fame, clout, and all that kinds of things. So we've got hustle culture right here. And then we also have flex culture. So flex culture is basically showing material goods off, or status as well. So just showing off those things. And then the last one will be sleep culture, or lack of sleep culture, which is just not sleeping. And so you might ask, how does that all interlace? Well, hustle culture means people are working hard to the bone. Flex culture means that people are actually flexing about hustle culture and the rewards that they have gotten from hustle culture. And then lack of sleep is basically what fuels all of this. So what I'm trying to say is people have stopped sleeping in service for hustle and flex culture. I guess an example of this will be how you've always got those people in school who are like, oh my god, I study 6 hours a night. I go to bed at 12 a.m. and then I wake up at 6 a.m. and then I come to school at 7:30. You've got those people who exist and who make it a point to hustle away, because they are the ones who are essentially studying 6 hours a night. And then you've got the flex culture where it's like, look at the grades I'm getting because of it. So despite only getting 6 hours of sleep as well as studying for 6 hours that night, look at me go, I'm the best. So somehow, in some weird wacky world, we've got flex culture, hustle culture, and lack of sleep culture all coming together. And whilst I agree that hustle culture and making yourself better is a good thing, to a certain extent I believe it can be quite harmful and very, very toxic upon your own body, on your mental state and your physical state as well. So whilst I believe that people can grow, this might just be a bit too excessive for my taste, because I actually value and prioritize sleep. It's something that I consider to be really, really important, especially for, teenagers, young teenagers, and just adults in general. So just literally everyone. I think sleep is so important. And I think that when people neglect sleep, they're actually harming themselves to a larger extent than they think that they are. So also in flex culture, we've also got people who like to brag about how much they don't sleep. And so it's I don't know really how to explain it. Because you've got these people who are like, oh yeah, I literally only sleep 4 or 5 hours a night, but look at me go, I can still do this. Why am I just move my chair? I can still do this, I can still do that. And so especially what I tend to find is if somebody who's quite actually used to sleeping 8 hours or 8 or 9 hours, 7 hours a night, right? And so they would come to school and be like, oh my god, I'm really tired, because on the one off night where they actually slept for 5-6 hours and they talk about it, they're like, oh my dear lord, I'm just really tired. And then you'd have this fucking flex culture, this braggy, I don't know what they're bragging about, okay? I don't know what they're bragging about. But you'd have somebody who would be like, oh, you only slept 6 hours? I only slept 4. Stop complaining. And like, I'm not even kidding, like these people exist, and like, why? Why? I think I feel a lot more sympathy towards somebody who once in a blue moon actually, I guess, didn't accommodate for sleeping, or just didn't have time, or had some other circumstances going on where they couldn't actually sleep, right? Versus this like dude who's like, I only slept 4 hours and I'm doing great, when he's obviously not doing great. But alas, like, I don't know, like, in a way, it's like a flex, but also a pity me. You know what I mean? So the lack of sleep and sleep deprivation, people use it as like, oh, like, I'm better than you because I don't sleep. But at the same time, if you're like, oh my God, I'm so tired, I only slept 6 hours. And then you would also have the same person be like, shut up, like, I only slept 4 hours, I'm even more tired than you. And so it's just like, what is going on? Okay, so you've got these people who recognize that lack of sleep is not only a harmful thing and how it actually directly results to your tiredness and your fatigue. But at the same time, they're the ones who are also bragging about it and making it seem like it's, I don't know, some grander experience, being like, I don't sleep. And somehow, somewhere, because it always comes together, right? When people talk about lack of sleep and bragging about lack of sleep, it's very, it gives me very toxic masculinity vibes, if I were to say it. It's very, people who don't sleep think that they're better than people who do sleep, because, like, they feel like they're like a different species or a different being. They're just a better human kind of thing because they don't have to rely on their body. They're like, man, I don't have to sleep at all. Like, I'm too good for sleep. Like, this is like cool. And like, for some, and like they think that they're macho because they don't sleep. And I'm like, they're like, hey, only sissies sleep 8 to 10 hours. Oh, you sleep 8 hours? Like, are you a baby? And I'm just like, what? I don't know how that came into play though. Like, how you would have somebody who'd be like, oh, like, I only slept 4 hours. Like, and then at the same time, they're like, you slept the amount of hours that I wanted to sleep? Well, F you, man. And it's like, what? What are you talking? Like, what do they want, right? The proudest thing that I've ever seen somebody say is that they only need 4 to 5 hours of sleep every night. Okay, I feel like the people who say that and make it a point to mention that, they think that they're like top. You know, they think they're great, amazing. Like, you know, I'm just looking from you with side eye. I'm just like, oh, stay away from me. Don't do that. So yeah, so basically, like, the end of part 1 of this video is that, like, flex culture, hustle culture, and lack of sleep culture is just this one whole toxic thing, which also leads into capitalism and is like fundamentally corrupt, because you're literally squeezing the juice out of, I don't know, a human being and using their productivity to make it into capital. And it's like not the right thing to do. Perhaps if you promoted sleep, it would be a better thing to do. Okay, so on to part 2 of this video. Sleep affects everything you do. So, I very briefly researched the purpose of sleep, and I'm going to be reading it out to you right now. So, let me tell you. Restorative function, repairing the body of damage. Immune function regulation, enhances immunity. Brain maturation during infancy. Sure. Memory consolidation and synaptic homeostasis. Brain plasticity. So, those are only some and not all of the purposes of sleep and not all of the functions that sleep has. Sleep has all of these functions, and yet here we are not sleeping. To be honest, the amount of sympathy that I have for somebody who does not sleep and chooses not to sleep and chooses not to prioritize their sleeping habits and actually sleep a decent amount, 7 to 9 hours a night, is actually, the sympathy that I have is very, very minimal. because it's not existent. All right, if you're not sleeping, you better supply it with a medical certificate, some health reasons. You have to be in an extremely stressful environment, or like you must suffer from insomnia. Like, I'll forgive all of that's like health issues, or like situational issues that like you can't really do anything about. So if you can't sleep because of those issues, fine, that's fine. Hopefully your sleeping will improve over time, but you can only do what you can only do. Because the thing is, because there's a lack of prioritization of sleep, people don't really actually believe that they can sleep, which is just plainly false. Like I feel like people don't believe in the fact of, okay, so put your phone away an hour before you go to sleep. Don't go on your phone because blue light interrupts your circadian rhythm, I think. And so don't do that. Have a routine before you go to bed, whether that is your brush your teeth, wash your face, listen to a podcast before you go to sleep. Natural light, if you're sensitive to natural light as well. Make sure you close your curtains at night and then set a heavy alarm, and then go to sleep around about the same time every day, and then wake up around about the same time every day. So I think if you do a quick Google search, there'll be plenty of habits and plenty of like sleeping things available to you to improve your sleep, or at least get your sleep on the right track. Because it's not like that information doesn't exist. No one plainly does. Except people don't, since sleep isn't a priority, people aren't prioritizing sleep, and so people aren't using the good habits to sleep. And so it's just this whole like thing where it's like, well, if people don't believe in sleep, they're not going to sleep. Like, that's about it, Another thing I do, and about how sleep affects everything you do, is that I do not want to hear complaints about fatigue, tiredness. I don't want to hear complaints at all about your skin as well. If you don't sleep, I don't want to hear any of your complaints about how fatigued you feel. I don't want to hear any of your complaints about how your skin looks dull and tired and how your pores look large. I don't want to hear any complaints about your productivity levels and how you feel like you cannot concentrate. I don't want to hear any of that. When you make an active choice, a choice it may be to sleep at 2 a.m. every morning and then follow to wake up at 8 a.m. and do whatever you need to do in the daytime. If you make it an active decision to sleep at such a bizarre time, 2 or 3 a.m. or at least 4 a.m., okay? If you make that decision, that's on you. Okay, a lot of people are like, oh, like I'm going to spend all this money on these skincare products. They're going to improve my skin texture. They're going to improve my skin quality. They're going to reduce the amount of fine lines and wrinkles that I have. Like, okay, sure. Skincare products will only be a small part of actually improving your skin. A lot of that is also due to the amount of sleep you get, your dietary habits, exercise, and stress levels, and whether or not like alcoholism and all that kinds of things, right? And so when people talk about like spending exorbitant like fees on skincare and other facial products, right? I hear that, I'm like, no, like you kind of need to sleep though. Like skincare will only do so much. Like you need to sleep. Like this is an actual issue. Like you need to go to bed. And I mean that. Like it's so important that you go to sleep, because again, your skin is also the largest organ in your body, and then sleep, the purpose of sleep that we've described before was that it has a restorative function. And so when you don't sleep, I assume that your skin wouldn't be restoring itself to, I guess, a healthier level where you seem like you're glowing. But again, I could be inherently wrong. Also, I would like to make a disclaimer. When I say like dull skin and like textured skin, I'm not talking about acne. Like acne isn't really something that I am qualified to talk about at all. And like, I don't mean to say that sleeping will make your acne better. Like, no, that's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just saying like something more preventable to a certain extent, such as dullness in your skin, or like just a bit of texture, large pores, as well as like fine lines as well, like earlier onset fine lines. I feel like that can be more preventable by sleeping more, as opposed to acne. Acne is just genetics and stuff like that, and you can't control that, and that's fine. Like it is what it is. So I don't mean to talk about that. Continuing on, how else does lack of sleep affect everything else about you? Your personality when you don't sleep, trash. The way that you talk to people, the way you treat people when you're sleepy, trash. Irritable people exist, but irritable people exist more when you're sleep deprived. I will say, I've been cranky, I've been irritable, I've been moody, I've been angry at people because of my own self, because I don't sleep sometimes. And I know that it has a enormous effect on my mood and the way that I go about that entire day if I do or do not sleep. What I'm trying to say is, like, a lot more people are inherently assholes when they don't sleep, okay? And that's true. Like, I've met quite a couple of people who don't sleep and are just absolutely disgusting to be around because they're so snappy and you don't understand why. And then you realize, like, their bags are deeper than the ocean. Like, they just are haggard because they haven't had a good night's sleep in about 8 years, and you're just like, okay, cool, like, you didn't sleep, but, like, also don't be an asshole, like, please, thank you. And in addition to just being really cranky and angry, there's also a lowered sense of concentration, attention, and you're just not switched on. And so a lot of people, like, when they're sleeping and you're trying to have a conversation with them, they're just like in this limbo state where they're not asleep, right? But they're not necessarily at 100% awakeness to be awake enough to be able to understand what you're saying. So when you're talking to people who are sleep deprived and they just don't understand anything you say, they just look at you with this look where it's like, I am watching, like my eyes are watching what is going on, but in no universe, in no way, shape or form am I actually listening to what you're saying or understanding a thing you say. So also when somebody else is sleep deprived, they also become a terrible conversation partner and low-key a terrible friend if it prolongs for quick enough, and it's not ideal to be around in that situation. Hello, editing Jenny here. So, like, the camera, right, I just, like, mess with the white balance, and, like, that's why it looks like that, and I can't really do anything about it because I don't have the skills to be able to, like, edit like that. So yeah. So we're officially on part 3 of the video, which is titled, Do Not Operate Heavy Machinery When Drowsy. Okay, so it's a strange title. It's actually like a in-joke between me and my dad. He operates heavy machinery like forklifts and so like one thing that you can't do, or like a work safe rule, is you don't operate heavy machinery when sleepy. Negligence. So you might be thinking, sleep? Negligence. How does that come together? What is the link between being sleepy and being negligent? Well, let's talk about it. Driving. Okay, so when you drive your car, you're going 80 kilometers per hour on a freeway or a highway, you're going 80 kilometers per hour. You better hope that at 80 kilometers that you have your full concentration on the road and that your reflexes must be as high as they can possibly ever be. Because the fact of the matter is, you are driving, you could literally kill somebody with your car or seriously injure, whether or not that would be from collision, getting T-boned, or like running over the curb, flipping your car over, pulling into a tree. There's so many different ways about it, yeah? And so this is really, really something that needs to be addressed, right? So you've got these people who are driving cars when they're sleepy. That is so dangerous. So let's get into it. The thing that I don't understand is that you've got some people who are sick, and so they'll take cold and flu tablets, and then they'll flip around the cold and flu tablet box and they'll look behind it and they'll be like, oh, okay, so this cold and flu tablet will make me drowsy for about 2 to 4 hours, so it's probably not a good idea to drive, so I'm going to probably take the cold and flu tablet after I drive and then arrive at work. You've got people who do that. Also the same way with hay fever tablets and other kinds of tablets and stuff like that. People are actually mindful about how their tablets will affect them and their drowsiness symptoms, right? You've got those people, they're like, oh, okay, like, I don't want to be drowsy when I drive, and so I'm not going to take these cold and flu tablets. Or I'm not going to be taking these cold and flu tablets when I do my exam because I'm going to be drowsy. So performing an exam is a harmless thing. If you fail, it's on you. That's not a problem. But when we're talking about something like driving a car and being on the road, I would hope that you were not drowsy, right? Me as another driver, I would not want the other drivers to be drowsy on the road. Why? When you're sleep deprived, right? Drowsy. Your reflexes are so slow. You're not paying attention to the road. You're actually at a disadvantage because you might actually fall asleep in the next 20 minutes on the road as well. How is letting people drive on the road whilst they're sleepy, how is that allowed to exist? Like, that is really, really negligent, all right? It's actually behavior that should be intolerant. And I know that in Victoria, we've been having campaigns where it's like, take a 15-minute nap on the side of the road. Take a 20-minute nap on the side of the road. You'll thank yourself for it. You'll feel better afterwards. And so you'll be able to drive at better clarity than what you've got right now, because you've got people nodding off at the wheel of a car. Cars, I'm telling you, like, these things drive so quick. These things can kill you. If you smash into the wall, you're done, bro. Like, that's it. Okay, it's literally so negligent for somebody to be like, okay, I'm only going to sleep 6 hours a night, and then I'm going to drive a car, and I'm going to drive 100 kilometers on the freeway, and I'm going to be fine. I'll be fine to indicate. I'll be fine to change lanes. I'll be fine to pull over to the left. That's not right. That's not right at all. You should not be driving when you're sleepy. This is a literal health and safety concern, and I do not want anybody driving on the road who does not know how to sleep properly. I'm sorry, but like, no. For my own safety, for my other friends' safety, like, this is not okay. Like, you should not be driving. You should not be driving if you're sleep deprived. That's not something that's on the table. That's not something that should happen. Okay, like, that's dangerous. It's negligent. There's a reason why. There's a blood alcohol concentration limit of 0.05. So we've got people who drink alcohol, and alcohol is a depressant, and it literally has the same effect as not sleeping, right? So drowsiness, slow reflexes, like not paying attention to stuff, you know, those kinds of things. It's something like alcohol, right? But that's a manageable and a very measurable thing. If somebody has a blood alcohol concentration of above or below 0.05. So that's actually quite easy to determine whether or not somebody is able to stay on the road. With sleepiness and sleep deprivation, it's not quite as easy to quantify, and as a result of that, you've got these people, because it's not a crime to be sleepy at the road or sleepy when you drive. So you've got these people who are sleepy and they're driving. Like, that's so dangerous. Like, I cannot believe that there are actually people on the road who literally do this and like think that it's okay. No. You're putting my safety at risk. You're putting everyone else's safety at risk. Please take a nap. Go to sleep properly. Like, this is not okay. I genuinely implore you, if you are somebody who doesn't actually prioritize sleep, if you have a driver's license, you should be sleeping. If you plan to drive, especially long car road trips as well, like I'm talking 4-hour road trips, I say that you need to sleep. Like, it's so important that you sleep, that you take care of your body and you stay healthy, especially when you drive, because like so many bad things can happen if you're not paying attention to the road, if you don't know how to drive in a state where you are literally unable to do so. I think it's a better idea to take public transport to work on the days where you do feel exceptionally drowsy, or at least take an Uber now, because Ubers are a thing. So just get Uber your way there, or at least like just don't pick up the keys, don't drive when you're feeling drowsy, because you're really putting yourself and others at risk. Finally, we are on to the last part of today's video, which is the reliance on stimulants and caffeine to stay awake. Now look here, if you can get more hours in your day, why wouldn't you do it? You know what I mean? If I could actually be awake for more hours during the day and sleep less and have more time to do the things that I want or the things that I need to do, why wouldn't I do it? With caffeine and other stimulants, you literally can do that. So it's not like you can't actually get more hours in your day, because you can. So people who sleep 5 or 6 hours a day, they wake up and they're like, oh yeah, like double shot, triple shot of caffeine, let's go, right? Or people would be like, oh, I only slept like 2 hours the night before, I feel terribly tired, and now I'm going to drink 3 whole cans of V. Okay, so what I'm trying to say with this is that I don't necessarily think it's a good idea that people are relying upon heavily caffeine and other stimulants to get throughout their day. Ultimately, it is inherently harming your body. Like, you cannot ingest that much caffeine and like expect to be okay. Like, your heart is going like 100 kilometers per second. Like, you cannot be just so dead tired, ignoring your bodily needs and your bodily function. So if we're going back to it, one of the functions of sleep is a restorative function of your body, and blah blah blah, right? So not only are you neglecting the fact that you're not sleeping and your body isn't restoring itself to the best way it can be. In addition to that, you're also drinking stimulants and, you know, caffeine and whatnot. And so what you're actually doing is that it allows you to ignore the fact that you're not restoring your body to a higher extent. So people are like, oh yeah, like, you know, I might feel fatigued for like when I wake up in the morning for like 2 hours, but as soon as I get that coffee in me, it's like nothing's happening at all. The analogy that I would use to compare this is with drinking alcohol and whatnot. So like, you know, people are like, oh, like if you just continue to drink alcohol, you'll never get a hangover, correct? It's the same thing with sleep and caffeine. So if you only sleep 3 or 4 hours a night, right, you don't feel fatigued because you can literally just continue to drink caffeine or do other things. And because of that, it's like you are never tired at all. And the thing is, yes, you would not be tired, but at the same time, no, don't do that. I don't think that's a good idea at all. Like, oh my god, I forgot my little guy. I think when you take into consideration the fact that your body has needs and you're literally just ignoring your bodily needs because you're just drinking caffeine, like that's so wrong. And it's really, really unhealthy. And the thing is, because we do have like science and all these other chemical substances that can literally help you with your fatigue and your tiredness, people don't actually try to improve their amount of sleep that they get and the quality of sleep that they get. And I think that that's really, really, really dangerous because, again, people driving, young adults, they need to develop their brain by sleeping a lot anyways, and they shouldn't really be relying upon caffeine and like all these other things. So when they come together, like, even though I like to drink coffee in the morning, I like to drink 1 cup of coffee every day because I'm getting old, you know, like I kind of like the taste of caffeine. Tastes nice. Coffee tastes good. And so I tend to drink coffee quite only once a day though. I wake up, have breakfast, have a coffee, good. And so I don't think that having 1 cup of coffee a day or at least 2 cups of coffee a day is necessarily harmful. However, when people are actually using it as a crux, you know, when people cannot function without having a coffee because they would be too tired, too sleepy, too irritable to deal with their life, I think that there's a sincere issue with that. And like, if you're not willing to recognize that you are suffering from an issue because you're literally drinking coffee and so you can't actually feel the effects of your non-sleeping, well then there might be some issues, you know what I mean? Like there might actually be some issues. Yeah, so I think that this culture of just drinking coffee and the Red Bull, whatever energy drinks you like, it's really, really, really harmful, and it's not something that should be happening, but it is happening. And so like I believe that like at least trying to cut down your caffeine, because what is it when you read the Red Bull, right? When you turn a Red Bull around, it's like drink wisely, like one a day, okay? And some people are just abusing that because, you know, if you're tired and you don't want to be tired anymore, just have a V and, you know, go to bed. Like, that's literally been my whole mantra of this video. Like, go to bed. Like, go to sleep. Like, why are you not in bed? Oh, we all know why you're not in bed, okay? Like, me asking stupid questions. Like, we know why you're not in bed. But, like, please try to get yourself in bed. Alright. For the conclusion of this video, I just want to make it quite clear that I think that sleeping is good and you should sleep a lot and you feel better. I don't know, something will change. And the sleeping isn't going to be the be all and end all miracle of everything, just like how sometimes water is priced to be like God's elixir or whatever. Like, again, drinking water is good for you, cool. But sleeping is also really good for you, and it's something that people should actually upkeep and continue to sleep more and more, especially amongst young people, because sometimes I just see people don't sleep and it worries me. It's none of my business whether or not you sleep, but it's not. But I would just prefer if people were sleeping, because again, people are driving, people are doing things, and so I would hope that most people are being functional human beings as best as they can. So that sums up today's video. If you sleep 8 hours a night or more, like and subscribe to this video and comment down below the craziest thing you've done while sleep deprived. Because one of the things that I've done when I'm sleep deprived, I've done so many stupid things. I can't hold chopsticks. I can't use chopsticks. I literally boiled water with my kettle, and I forgot to put the kettle lid on, so the water just erupted everywhere and it was a mess and it was disgusting and I had to clean it up myself. Like, I've dropped eggs whilst I've been sleep deprived. Like, so many bad things have happened to me because I've been sleep deprived. So comment down below your worst thing, the worst thing that has happened to you when you were sleep deprived. Thank you for watching.